Hi, I'm Misa, and this is Books on the House. And today we're talking with Christine Brodien-Jones, the author of The Owl Keeper. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Misa. Thanks so much for having
Well,
me.
thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you about your book, The Owl Keeper. I think it's such an interesting premise, and I want to jump right in and first of all ask you how you came up with this concept of your story taking place at night.
Oh, I started this book back in 2001, shortly after 9/11, and when everything was very dark and there was a sense of hopelessness. And I think I wanted, in the back of my mind, I wanted to write a story about hope. And every night before I fell asleep, I had this image in my mind of this young boy in a forest, and it was dark, and there was mist swirling around in trees, and but there was no color. It was just very dark, and I think that the theme evolved from there. And the boy is Max. His name is Max, and he has a very solitary life. He lives in a future that's set after a huge cataclysmic event. And he's very solitary. He suffers from a condition where he's allergic to the sun. So Max cannot go out in the daytime. He has to avoid the sunlight, and he can only go out at night. And in the night, he goes out behind his house, and there's an old tree. And this is where he finds a wounded silver owl. And the owl has a broken wing, and he's been nursing this owl. And he recognizes it as one of the, well, from his grandmother's stories about the magical silver owls that flew through the forest and sang their owl song, but were lost during what I call the Great Destruction. So this is how the story starts. So yeah, darkness is a big theme in the story.
Wow,
and there's also, oh,
so it all pretty much takes place at night.
It does.
Because
Most
Max
of it does.
really lives in the night.
That's correct.
That
Yep.
is so fascinating. I think that's a great twist on your story. I think that's really, really interesting. And so the injured owl leads me to my next question, which is something that we've talked about, which is the owl adoption through the York Center for Wildlife. Is that what
Yes.
it's called? Yep.
Yes, that's right. It's insane.
And you are giving away an owl adoption. And if you could tell us a little bit about the York Center for Wildlife, I think that's a really, really wonderful place.
Right. They have a special adoption program, not only owls, but there are all kinds of wildlife that they have rescued, who turtles, all different kinds of birds, foxes, whatever, and they've been wounded in one way or another. I adopted a barred owl who looks something like the owl on the cover of my book. And this owl, Bianca, was hit by a car, and her wrist was wounded in such a way that they couldn't let her back out into the wild. So she is at the center, and the animals that they can't release back into the wild, they try to, rehabilitate them so they can go back to their habitat. But if they can't, then they use them at the center in their outreach programs and to educate people about owls and their habitat. And if you adopt an owl, you receive adoption papers and a photograph and a history of the owl and what their purpose is at the center. And I know my owl, Bianca, has been there for a long time, and when the new owlets come in, she kind of takes them under her wing, so to speak. And it's just a very special program, and it's a way that you can connect with wildlife and sort of make a difference.
And I love the connection between that and your book and the injured owl that Max finds, and it comes full circle. I think that's really powerful. Well, let's see. You have a female character in your book who goes by Rose but is named Artemis, correct?
Yep.
And
correct.
So can you tell us about her? Because I love that she's named after Artemis.
Right, right. Rose shows up shortly, well, in the beginning, actually, in the first chapter, under the owl tree when Max is there with his silver owl. And she is this wild, bossy girl who appears out of nowhere. She has bugs in her hair, and she's wearing a long battered coat and no shoes on her feet. She's bossy, she's opinionated, she frightens Max with her ideas because they're so radical, and she challenges everything that he's ever believed in. So Rose, her name is Artemis Rose Eccles, and she is named for the moon goddess, the huntress, the goddess of wild things, which she very strongly identifies with. And she considers herself fearless and brave, and Max is very in awe of her, really, because that's the one thing that he would like to be, is brave, and he's not. And she, they strike up this very unusual friendship, but they do, in the end, become very close friends, and they end up going on a quest together. But she's a very strong heroine, too. And I think because growing up I read a lot of books with strong girl heroines, Pippi Longstocking and Meg in the Wrinkle in Time, and, those kinds of heroines. So she's strong, and she counteracts Max, who is a timid character, but over the course of the book he does grow into a stronger,
Any chance
braver.
that Rose will have her own book? Or is there going to be a continuation or a sequel?
Well, it's funny because I've started a sequel. I started two different sequels, and one had Max as the main character, and the other one had Rose as the main character. So I haven't really decided yet, but I think she would be definitely strong enough to carry a book.
Yeah, that sounds great. So Max, I guess you can't tell us the end if he conquers his fear of the night, and how his hero's journey develops. We'll have to read the book to find out. Right. When does the book come out?
The book came out April 13th of this year.
Oh, okay. Good.
So it's yeah.
I'm excited to read it. And so what's the age level for this book?
It's ages 10 and up. And I think any age over 10. There are some scary scenes in it, so for the younger kids it might be a little frightening. But adults have enjoyed it, as well as, and teenagers, as well as middle school age kids. So
well, I personally love reading middle grade and YA books.
I do too. That's pretty much all I read.
It keeps me young. But perfect. They sound really like something my two kids would love also, and they're right in that age range. So.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Well, I think it sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, Christine, and best of luck with this book, and I hope that you do develop a sequel, because I think it sounds like just a wonderful, wonderful premise.
Great. Thank you so much.